Passé composé with avoir and être. A quick explanation. Passé composé is a past tense that is used to narrate past events that are specific in time, like yesterday he went shopping, last year she traveled to Croatia. In English, these two sentences are specific. It happened yesterday and last year. Now, there are three forms of passé composé, and here we are presenting two. The third one has to do with reflexive verbs. Now, normally, passé composé with être and avoir are dealt with separately, but I decided to put them together because, well, you can't really separate them for many reasons. So let's just carry on. Passé composé with être. Here's a quick explanation. In French, there are more or less 16 verbs that are used with être in the past tense, and they all express an idea of movement, except for one, which is rester, to stay. And I will give you the list in a moment. Être is the first part of the conjugated verb, and the second part of the verb is called the past participle. The past participle agrees in gender, that is feminine or masculine, and number, that is singular and plural, with the subject that it describes, more or less. Now, when we talk about passé composé with être, many of you would have come across this acronym, Dr. Mrs. Vandertramp. It exists to help you remember the verbs that are used with être, and here they are. So on the left side you can see Dr. Mrs. Vandertramp, and it stands for the first letter of the infinitive or even the past participles of verbs that are used with être. So in the middle you see the infinitive, but what you really need to remember is the past participle. And I didn't put the translation of these. You will recognize some of them. You may have to look up others. So don't forget, these are the past participles of all the verbs that are used with être. These are the forms you need to remember when using the past tense with être. So let's look at some examples. The first part is être, and you need to remember the conjugated form of être in the present tense. Je suis, tu es, il, elle, on est, nous sommes, vous êtes, ils sont. You combine être, so the forms I just read, with the past participles that are used with être. Look at these examples. If you want to say I went to school, the word for went or go is aller, and it is a verb that's used with être. So you say, je suis allé à l'école. She returned home, again a verb of movement is used with être. Elle est rentrée chez elle. Arrived is another verb of movement, and it is used with être. Ils sont arrivés à 4 heures de l'après-midi. Now there's one more detail you need to remember, and it's the agreement. We explained earlier that the past participle has to agree with the subject, and if the subject is masculine, like in this case, je suis allé à l'école, I am a man and I am masculine, therefore you just keep the past participle as it is. If the person you are talking about is female and singular, you add an I. Elle est rentrée chez elle. If the subject is plural, you add either an S or an ES depending on whether you're dealing with masculine or feminine. So, elles sont arrivées, you add I and you add S for feminine plural. There are 4 types of agreement. Masculine singular, there will be no mark. Feminine singular, you will add an E. Masculine plural, you will add an S. And feminine plural, you will add ES. Look at these examples again. Hopefully that's clear. And that's all you need to know about the passé composé with être. Now dealing with avoir. It's a bit simpler because you only need to conjugate avoir and add the past participle of the verb. So here is a conjugation of avoir in the present tense. J'ai, tu as, il, elle, on a, nous avons, vous avez, ils, elles ont. Look at these examples. I ate an apple. J'ai mangé une pomme. She finished her homework. Elle a fini ses devoirs. We sold our car. Nous avons vendu notre voiture. You see, I'm conjugating avoir and I'm using the past participle. And the case is that these three past participles are regular. So a little bit about regular past participle. There are three types. The past participles of ER verbs like manger. ER changes into AE acute. Finir, IR verb. Again, these are regular participles. You will come across verbs that end with IR that are not regular. Finir is a regular one. So IR changes into I, von into you, the RE changes into you. But some are irregular, and so happens that many common verbs are irregular, like pouvoir becomes pu. So could becomes j'ai pu. I wanted is j'ai voulu. I had to, j'ai dû. I saw, j'ai vu, and so on. Recevoir, reçu, tenir, tenu, croire, cru, mettre, mis, prendre, pris, ouvrir, ouvert, offrir, offert, découvrir, découvert, lire, lu, boire, bu, avoir, eu, faire, fait, produire, produit, écrire, écrit, dire, dit, être, été. These are the most common irregular past participles, and you may want to look up words that you don't know. Look at these examples. I read a book. J'ai, although the verb for read is lire, you have to say j'ai lu un livre. I could speak to mom, although the word for can is pouvoir. Pouvoir changes into pu. J'ai pu parler à maman. The verb for want is vouloir. I wanted becomes j'ai voulu une glace. So in a way, it's a bit simpler, except for the irregular past participles. Right. You may want to rewind this video and watch it again before you do the exercises.